All right, so this is going to be a review of Luca. It's the new Pixar movie that just came out on Disney Plus. I got some ideas about it. I liked it, but I definitely have some things I want to talk about. But it's directed by Enrico Casarosa. So Luca, played by Jacob Tremblay, he's a sea monster and he lives in Italy. There's a town that's nearby. They're like deathly terrified of the sea monsters because they've seen them before. And his parents are telling him not to go up to the surface, mainly his mother. But then he meets Alberto, played by Jack Dylan Grazer, and they form a friendship. And he's like showing him around like the surface and all that. Eventually, the parents find out they're going to send him away, so he runs away, and him and Alberto start living in that town. Now they have a like a dream of owning a Vespa, like it's the biggest thing in the world, I guess, and I guess it mostly like represents like freedom for them because they want to like run away on it and stuff like that. They think it could take you anywhere. It's up in the air what they know and what they don't know about the surface and stuff like that, which I'll talk about in a second. They meet this little girl in the town, and she's kind of weird and all that. She lives with her dad. And so they enter this race with her because there's this other villainous character. Well, I guess he's supposed to be the villain in this movie. He's mostly just like a ridiculous cartoon. And they want to win that race so they can get enough money to buy a Vespa. So positives. It's well done in almost every way. The music is nice. I mean, obviously, the characters are Italian. You know, the voice acting is done well with the Italian accents. It's the same kind of character design that we're used to from Pixar with the characters, but the animation is good. It's nothing too special, but it looks all right. The town, the water, all that looks really nice with the colors and things like that. The best part about this movie probably is the friendship between Luca and Alberto, even though it leads to a conflict that I didn't really care for. But their friendship probably gets the most development, like of anything in this movie, because he meets him at the beginning, it goes all the way through the end, and it was actually some really touching moments between the two. The characters are kind of you've seen this kind of dynamic before with a character that's kind of scared, and then there's another character that's more of like a daredevil and wants to do things. They have this whole thing, Silencio Bruno, I think is what they were saying, which is like to calm the voice in your head that's telling you you can't do things. It's kind of a moral for kids. The ending was touching emotionally, mostly with the stuff with Alberto and Luca, not necessarily the rest of everything that was going on, like the dad and the girl that they meet in the town. But it's still good. Like it's still a well-made movie. People have already talked about how safe this movie is. I think people said it's the safest Pixar movie that they've ever made, and it probably is. I mean, it's either between this and maybe Good Dinosaur, because that was kind of a generic story. This is pretty much like a storyline of like a character that's a monster that the humans don't like them or whatever. Who's the monster? Who's the man? Type thing. They get to know the character, and obviously things will change after that. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. Like this really just almost doesn't even feel like Pixar, right? It could have been just like a Disney movie without Pixar, like one of their CG animated films, or it could have been DreamWorks or something like that with how just kind of nothing the story is. There's not much creativity. There's not much risk taken, like almost at all. The pacing isn't very good because a lot of it feels rushed. He spends very little time with his parents in the sea, in the water before he goes on the surface and meets Alberto. There's very little of that for the setup. Everything kind of feels quick. They're getting ready for this race, and the race is for the most part all right. It's well done, but it feels like things are kind of rushed through, especially that conflict that they have. Like it leads to a really dramatic moment, and up to that point, their relationship has been like extremely touching. Like there hasn't been almost any friction at all. They've gotten along almost perfectly. So this conflict that comes up, it really didn't really feel like it needed to be there. It felt forced. I mean, I don't even think that's a spoiler. The humans are obviously going to find out at some point. And what happens with that, it is over and done so quickly to the point where it felt like there didn't really need to even be a conflict at all between the humans and the sea monsters. I mean, it felt like nothing, right? A lot of this movie is montage, you know, it, so the pacing doesn't really work. So a lot of the movie doesn't feel developed enough. You don't really feel those moments as much as you probably could. the big moment with the conflict between the two, like I said, like it's not as developed as it should be. So it kind of almost comes out of left field that it would go that far. It's really up in the air what they know and don't know. Like Alberto keeps saying like, I forgot what it was, and calling people an idiot or something like that, and people were reacting negatively, even to each other. They talk normally, just like the humans. So even if he didn't know what that meant specifically, he would be able to pick up on the context by the way the humans were reacting to what he was saying. Same thing goes with some of the stuff with the parents. I mean, there's a moment. I mean, there's a moment where a character's like, well, they're terrified of you and scared of you because you're monsters. And I'm like, I mean, with a story like that's this like simple, and we've seen versions of it before, do you really need to be that on the nose with that? You need a character to actually say that in the dialogue? I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good movie still for kids. And I mean, I guess that shows the talent of Pixar that they can essentially just throw something out there. That's what this feels like, and put very little into it, like unlike their other movies, and still come out with a good movie. Like I still think kids will like it. I still think most people will probably like the movie, but it's just nothing special about it. It just doesn't have much to it to really grab you, and I don't think it's going to be very memorable as a result of it having such a simple, like, safe story. It's still a pretty good movie. I'm going to give it a good enough. It's just not up to Pixar's, what you expect from Pixar, which is unfortunate, but whatever. That's Luca, and I'm done.